Good day, eh? Northerner here to discuss something other than donut batteries. Instead, we'll talk about lithium iron phosphate batteries because, well, I'm fairly obsessed with batteries. So basically, today, last week, I got my shipment in the mail, which is a 90 amp hour, 72 volt nominal um, lithium iron phosphate battery. Actually, it's a 24S, which means it's 24 3.2 volts series, so it ends up being 76.8 volts um, nominal. And I think fully charged, it's just shy of 90 volts, like 87.6 volts. So it's quite high, much higher than the lead acid, which was an actual 72 volt nominal. I think it fully charged, it got to as high as 78 volts. So about 10 volts less, I suppose, than the full charge of the lithium iron phosphate. But I digress. What happened next was I was able to unbox the battery. This battery was ordered from a Chinese company, and a lot of people warned me and said, don't get Chinese batteries, they are bad. Well, the problem with that is that almost all of the batteries assembled in Canada are actually from China. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them are from China. There are Chinese cells that are assembled here, and sometimes they're not even assembled here, they're assembled in China with the help of some engineers and designers in China. So it's very rich in my mind to be that critical. But that doesn't mean you can just choose any old battery. You can't pick the cheapest thing you find at Alibaba or on Amazon. That's not a good idea. You have to look at reputation, you have to look at reports, consumer reports, and what do they say. And you have to be careful because if you go to, let's say, the seller's website, sometimes they stack them full of reports of positive reviews, which of course we know are not necessarily true, truthful. So, uh, without further ado, let's look at my video of uh, the battery unboxing. As we say, use Emo Zone GTS motorcycle style e-bike plus Chakra battery 90 amp lithium equals Happy Jamie. So here's the battery being unboxed. Sorry for the close-up video. I'm filming with my phone on one hand and my scissors in the other hand. That's a recipe for disaster. Moving right along. As you can see, it's a box inside of a box. Yay! So that means they're protecting it pretty well. So they're protected reasonably well. Lots of these foamy little sheets, which will come into play later, and you'll see. So a box came out of a box, as you see. And I opened up the box, and I found this lithium iron phosphate charger, 110 volts, 87.6 volt output, 110 volt AC input, and a 10 amp charging capacity, which is actually higher than the average. Most of them average 3 to 5 amps. This is about 10. I think if you were to actually look at the BMS, I think it was charging at more about 8 amps rather than 10 amps. There is the Chakra battery now. Look at those big chonky cables. The Chinese have the funny, always humorous spelling. They're calling it a phosphoric acid gold brick. Well, it's not technically phosphate. Phosphate is actually a base, not an acid, but phosphoric acid is used in the production of a LIFEPO battery. So I think that's just the Chinese do have sometimes unfortunate wording. And if you look again at the charge plugs, it came with, not only did it come with a very large plug, it also came with a extra plug to wire with ring cables to wire that plug to the bike so that it's very well set up. That's about a 6 gauge wire, I later determined, which is thicker than the bike's wires. So it's more than enough cable for my bike's needs. Now, my bike has the stock wires. If I were to upgrade the fire driver controller to something higher amperage than 70 amps, maybe I'd need a thicker wire. So there's the battery box as we saw before, a little corroded there. I probably should paint that. And I put some of those packing sheets in there because they'll make a nice shock absorber. But if you notice, I cannot slide this battery in because of that lip on the edge of the box. That won't allow the battery to clear it. I anticipated this problem, so we're going to get the old cutting wheel of death out, the angle grinder, and we're going to cut that out and remove it. I didn't really want to do that, but it's not structural. That's like basically like very thin metal, like muffler metal or something like that. And that mount is not even really used by the fairings, so it's not that important. Talking at great length about it for some reason. Alright, as you can see underneath the box, that's the real reinforcement. The box itself is not structural for the battery or for the bike. I did have to use a hammer here, pull in my 5-pound Tanya Harding on the box because somebody dented it pretty good. So I hammered out that dent to make space for that battery. It's a very snug fit. So I gave them the dimensions, and that's the smallest form factor that they could fit a 24S series battery with golden brick cells. Those cells are pretty big, and that's as small as they could make it. Man, they made it small. I'm amazed that they shoehorned those cells into that box, but they did. Plus an ANT BMS with Bluetooth. So there it is. Now there's the battery plug. I've also connected the leads. I've connected the leads with stainless steel bolts, a star washer, and 2 nuts. So and really reefed on them to make them nice and tight. Now, I could have put a heat shrink tubing on those leads. However, you're actually supposed to, after about 500 kilometers of driving, you should actually re-reef them, undo it, check them, and then rewrap them with electrical tape. So this is one of the use cases where electrical tape actually makes sense. I frankly generally hate electrical tape, but in this particular case, there's a use case for it because you do want to access it again, and you can't. I suppose I could keep putting heat shrink tubing on it every time as well. So here she is in all her glory, my EV Von Lessbatter bike. That's what I call her, EV Von Lessbatter. You can still see the foam. It's kind of like a little bit of a glaring issue. I suppose I could color it or cover it so it doesn't look so white behind the black. So maybe I'll look into that. But as you can see, I did the fairings. Those fairings were fully cracked and damaged, and I sanded those down really a lot. Put Bondo on there, which I know Bondo is probably not the best for flexing components, but it's not flexing that much, and it hasn't shown any signs of stress or cracking as yet. So let's see how it fares for the end of the season. But maybe I'll just slap on some more Bondo. Who knows? So I'm pretty proud of what's going. And of course, you see the tail bag as well. Now you see the distance that I traveled on my first trip. This is my first kind of attempt at a distance trip. I went from my house to the Upper Canada Village, which is about 30 kilometers each way, 29.9 or 30 by car each way. And let's see here. So that obviously, if it's to that museum and back, you're looking at 60 kilometers range. Here we are. So round trip distance is 60 kilometers using 57% of charge. So a little over 1 kilometer per percent of charge of my 90 amp hour battery. I'm going 32 kilometers an hour because any faster than that would be illegal for an e-bike in Ontario. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going on the record as saying I'm going 32 kilometers an hour. Feels pretty exhilaratingly fast. So I was just talking about going very carefully. I didn't want to go too far. I think I just struck the right balance. I drove 30 kilometers. I could probably have safely driven 40 kilometers each way, there and back. That would have been like, 80 kilometers total. I don't think I wanted to go any further than that. Theoretically, I could probably travel 105 kilometers on a charge. But to be honest with you, I'm a caregiver at home. I'm a 24/7 caregiver at home. I can't just be stranded on the side of the road or wait for, somebody to pick me up and tow me or throw it in the back of the pickup truck. I got to be home for my wife. So as such, I don't get to just kind of go on these grand adventures. So I erred on the side of caution, and I turned back 30 kilometers. At 30 kilometers out and 30 kilometers back. The truth is, though, I think I could probably go a little further, and I may do that in my next trip. As you can see, it doesn't get up to speed very fast. The acceleration is probably better than it was. But what I will tell you about my experience is that there is no voltage sag. When I use my lead acid battery, first of all, it's 150 pounds for a lead acid battery. This is about 100 pounds for lithium iron phosphate. Now, yes, I know you can get a lighter and more energy dense lithium battery. You can probably get something as energy dense, probably a 30 or 40 pound pack. This is 100 pounds. You could probably get a 40 pound pack or 50 pound pack that gives you 50 amp hours or even 60 amp hours. But the truth is, I wanted cycle life. I mean, the lithium iron phosphate can get between 4,000 and 6,000 charge cycles, whereas a nickel manganese cobalt might get 1,000 or 2,000. So I'm happy to trade the sort of the lightness. It's already much lighter on this bike now, and I can really feel it. I can maneuver it better. I can park it better. I can back it up by hand. There is no reverse gear on this bike, but it's a little easier to handle now. I wager it's about 400 pounds. It was closer to 500 and something pounds, 500 pounds before with the lead acid. Now the thing is with lead acid is it's very forgiving, right? You plug the charger in, you ignore it. With this, it's lithium iron phosphate. You do have to check your BMS regularly. You got to check your temperature a lot. You have to check to make sure your depth of discharge isn't too deep. Those are things you should be doing. And the app shows up on my phone. It's really convenient. Here I am heading back down my street. I didn't show you the entire trip because, well, frankly, it's a long trip. You don't really want to see it. But I can tell you that it's pretty. It sustains the high speed of 32 kilometers per hour very nicely along the county road that I was traveling. Yes, I still let people pass me because obviously they're going, it's an 80 kilometer an hour road, and they can pass me. Now, of course, you can modify your EmoZone GTS controller to allow you to give the full 70 amps dumped into your motor, but that would be for off-road use only. It would be illegal on-road. So there we are with there's the readout. So that was my 60 kilometer trip. It used 57% of the pack. So if by mathematics, you divide the distance traveled by the amount of pack used, and you get the kilometers per percentage. And I got about 1.05 something or other kilometers per percent of pack used. So by that logic, I should be able to get 105, maybe even 110 kilometers range on the charge. I'm happy with that. Could it be more? Yeah, but I think I'd have to lose some weight. I'm a 250-pound man. I'd probably have to drop another 50 pounds, and I'll probably get 130 kilometers of range out of it. I also was really, really pushing it hard. Okay, I was almost full throttle all the way for 60 kilometers. That's not easy on a pack, and I did that pretty much full throttle. So I kind of abused the battery today, and I did it on purpose. I wanted to show what exactly the pack was capable of under full load, and a big heavy boy. I also had a big heavy chain, a security chain in the back I didn't use. And if I took that chain off and took a light, I also had my tail bag on the back. Maybe it's not as aerodynamic. If I took that off, I'd like to try it again and be even lighter, see how it goes. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to show you what I was doing so far with my e-bike. And I also want to talk about what's practical. Look, I can't afford even the Chinese EVs, which are very affordable. I can't afford one of those. What I can afford is a Chinese-made e-bike, motorcycle-style e-bike. It's a blast to ride. I can get groceries. In upcoming videos, I'm going to show you my plans to have a triple bag tail bag system, so 2 saddle bags and a tail bag on the pillion seat. And for those who don't know, a pillion seat is a passenger seat on the bike. And so the saddle, two large duffel bags for saddlebags plus a reinforced bag on top of the seat should be enough to get, I don't know, groceries. And given the price of gas right now, I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, to trick out your e-bike, your scooter or e-scooter, or even your e-bicycle with the ability to transport some goods. Maybe this is what we're going to start seeing more and more. As long as people are warring over oil, and oil is being driven up in cost, probably by design, to get some avaricious profits for these certain wealthy oil people. You know what? I don't want to give them my money. I don't want to do that. Tell me what you guys think. Would you trick out an e-bike or an electric motorcycle? What do you think about the distinction between an e-bike and a motorcycle? This is a very motorcycle-like e-bike. In my case, it suits my needs plenty well. I don't need to go any faster than I'm going. I feel like my heart's in my chest when I'm in this bike, on this bike. What do you think? Could you handle a bike like that? Would you want to go much, much faster? What about that range that I mentioned, 100-kilometer range? Is that kind of small potatoes for you, or is it overkill for you? If you live in the city, it might be different than if you're in the country. I live in the country. What about you? Do you live in the city? Would you like to commute with one of these? As always, drop comments below and like and subscribe. Thanks, everybody. Keep your stick on the ice.